We're back for a podcast.
We're back.
Perna. Yeah, that's Will Keys. Yeah. Welcome to That's Good Broncos. Today, we're talking, Will. We are talking.
What are we talking about?
We got 2 XFL players signing with the Broncos. Everybody knows about Ben DiNucci, but this other man, this other XFL stud, kind of under the radar, snuck onto the roster.
Yep.
I'm not sure if Sean Payton knows he's on the team yet, but he snuck in there. Kareem Jackson's coming back. That was big news. And Sean Payton gave a Javonte Williams timetable optimism for week 1. I kind of think that's BS. So we're going to talk about all of that. Probably talk a little bit about the Nooch. I posted my interview with him yesterday here on this channel. So that's what we got coming up. Before we get into it, though, we're in the process of raising money for the Alzheimer's Association at benchwarmerbrew.com. Right now, you can buy the shirt Will is wearing. Stand up, Will. Give him the full deal, the full Monty. Yeah, you can buy those disgusting Brandon Perna shirts at benchwarmerbrew.com for $69. All of the proceeds go to the Alzheimer's Association. If that's too much cheddar for you to drop on my ugly mug, which I understand, you can go to my Alzheimer's Association page, link below, and just do a direct donation. We're almost at $14,000 raised there. Trying to get to $25K. I think we've raised well over $1,000 via those shirts. So either way, if you can support, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, and can I say, these are some of the most comfortable shirts I've ever worn. I wear it all the time. I was not planning this. I just had it on. It's like my get out of bed shirt, go to bed shirt. It's super comfortable.
Well, I should note, I don't know who made those shirts, but the ones we're having produced are slightly different.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure they'll be comfortable, but they will be a little bit different. Just full transparency.
Okay.
Not that anybody who pays, $69 for a shirt for charity is really going to care, but
I don't know. I like to wear this out in public too.
Yeah. Somebody during the stream said he bought one and he's going to give it to his daughter just to see what her husband thinks of it. I was like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I like it. Do it. Great cause, etc.
Yeah,
I'm proud of you for really putting a dent in this thing.
Yeah, it's I've talked about it before. My grandparents had Alzheimer's. My sister worked for the foundation for several years. And this is the 3rd or 4th year I've done the fundraising for it. I might try and find a different charity next year. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, it's a good cause. It's a good place to, if you have extra money, to give it where it's going to be used appropriately. So anyway, that's the spiel there. We can confirm that basically I predicted Ben DiNucci would be a Bronco, or I not predicted, but I'm the reason. I'm the reason he's a Bronco.
So walk us through, if anybody didn't watch the stream or the interview, kind of go through what happened on Saturday night.
Yeah, or the week-to-week recaps of the XFL where I hyped up Ben DiNucci,
right?
Where I filleted him. So last week, Friday, he's trying out for the Broncos. Thursday, Friday, some shit like that. We were excited. I mentioned it in a video. I did a video. Why can DiNucci replace Russell Wilson? Okay. But all we got basically from an actual news standpoint, and it's not even news, from the tryout was basically Sean Payton telling Ben DiNucci after throwing a pick six in front of Greg Pinner that they own Walmart and they would have a job for him as a greeter if he kept throwing picks, which, first of all, hilarious, but also kind of a dick move to tell the XFL QB here.
Totally.
Just trying to make a fucking team that you might be a greeter at Walmart.
And it was Sean Payton who said that in a press conference, not DiNucci too.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah, retelling the story.
Yeah.
That's what's weird about it, right? It's Sean Payton retelling his own joke. Like,
that's something that was kind of, we should have known he was going to make the team after that, because that's you don't say that about a guy who's getting cut a day later.
Yeah.
That's elite ball breaking.
It is. And I love ball breaking, but when it came out, it was just kind of weird. Like, oh man, we don't know if this guy's going to make the team. That is harsh. No offense to any Walmart greeters, but like,
they're old. They don't.
A little tough there. But I'm glad. Okay, so that happened. Then Saturday, I'm streaming the XFL Championship, trying to raise money for the Alzheimer's Association. Will donated to the chat, and Tom Grassi came on because he's like the king of charity fundraising.
He was doing the wildflower bit.
And in the championship game, you had the Renegades, who were 4-6 in the regular season, 5-6 with their one playoff victory, and they're in the championship game with the losing record. And they just come out of the gate beating the shit out of DC.
On all cylinders.
Luis Perez was like a machine. He was traded to the Renegades late in the season, the journeyman of spring league ball. And everybody was a little surprised who's followed the league that the Renegades were so handily like beating the Defenders. And then I saw old Ben DiNucci on Twitter saying he wasn't surprised. The Defenders looking like it's week 1. So I was like, oh, this is good. He's kind of roasting DC a little bit. Let me see if I can get him on the stream. Tweeted at him, hey, come on my stream and talk about this. Everybody started tagging him saying, do it. He DM'd me, what's up? And then I gave him the link. He joined the stream, said him, Jaques Patrick, and Trent Harris, 3 XFLers, all trying out for the Broncos. They were all in the Broncos rookie minicamp.
Right.
All said that they thought the Renegades would win that game because the Renegades had a really good defense. They just needed the quarterback situation fixed it with Perez. So wasn't surprised. I wished him luck. Said, I hope you make the Broncos roster at the end of the stream. Next day, Ben DiNucci is a Bronco.
Many people are wondering, are you just a reason? Are you one of many reasons he made the team, or the reason?
The reason. And let me tell you something, Will. Maybe, I don't know. I've mentioned this several times throughout the course of this and my other channel's history. The very first video I ever made for the Broncos was me predicting that Peyton Manning would sign with the Denver Broncos. And then I got too scared to post the video. It was my first one ever. I was like, oh my God, you should not be talking. You look weird on camera. You're uncomfortable. Your jokes are stupid. Don't post this. Then he signs with the Broncos. What I'm trying to say is Ben DiNucci, next Peyton Manning for the Broncos.
I don't think that's unreasonable.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Were you aware of the Walmart greeter remark at the time of the interview, and did you consider bringing that up to him?
I was aware of it, but I was not it didn't cross my mind because one, I was just surprised he was coming on the show, so I had no plan. I didn't have a line of questions.
And I texted you this, but you did a really nice job kind of just improvising that on the fly.
I appreciate that because I felt like I didn't do a great job.
No, I think we all knew too that, this is not planned for. This is heat of the moment. surprise nooch, impromptu nooch, and you asked him some good questions. I thought
The one question, like, I wanted to kind of clarify. Like, I tried to make a joke, and I think he laughed, but I think he thought I was saying the opposite of what I was trying to say. Because I was saying, like, I was surprised that, like, he was so mobile and athletic. Like, I didn't know that was part of his game. And I wanted to say, do you think that can translate to the NFL level? Like,
yeah.
Meaning, do you think it's a little easier to escape pressure and make plays with your legs in the XFL versus, you're going against some of the fastest edge rushers on earth?
Right.
And I was like trying to hint at, like, I wanted to get to that question. And I was saying something about athleticism, and I don't know. I kind of just butchered that one. And then I wish I would have asked him one or two more questions about the actual game that was going on before, he kind of got out of there. And then if I would have known he was going to make the Broncos roster, I would have just asked him straight up, you better than Russell Wilson or not? Straight up.
What do you think the answer to that question would be?
I think he would have been very, very well trained in his answer. All of his answers about, like, Broncos and NFL were very, like, regimented, sort of say all the right things.
Right. We've been, there's not been a lot coming out of camp, not a lot of social media presence whatsoever. This is truly the Kim Jong, Sean Payton regime here in Inglewood. And we have a new bounty gate too, because he offered the rookies gift cards for who had the most generic answer at a press conference.
Ooh.
Did you see this? Did you hear about this?
No.
Yeah. So I watched a Riley Moss press conference, or just like a locker room scrum or whatever. He was getting pretty generic when asked about the white cornerback situation. So I think he might be coming for the title. Haven't heard anything from Drew Sanders or Marvin Mims or anybody. But I don't know. What do you think about it? Couldn't be more polar opposite from the Nathaniel Hackett experience. What do you think?
Yeah,
Is it good?
I mean, it makes it a little harder to talk about interesting things.
Yeah.
Like, at this point in the season, once football starts, there's usually,
there's no escaping.
You don't need a soundbite to really give you, like, the great story.
Right.
So it's a little boring, but if it, like, I don't care if it turns into good football, like, whatever. I don't like generic answers, but I also think the questioning and the interviews is oversaturated. I feel like there's too much access to players. And now that there's more and more players who are just taking advantage of the fact that they can have their own platform.
Yeah.
So there's, like, going to be more of that. I just like the interesting and genuine conversations. And I feel like you don't really get those it's like a numbers. You just got to keep taking shots. Like, you're just there with your microphone every fucking day. And one out of, I don't know, every 3 weeks, you're going to get the soundbite. You're going to get the thing. You're going to get Aqib Talib, like, saying he's going to beat Harry Douglas's ass or whatever. Like, those things do happen, but so much of it's boring and watered down anyway.
Yeah, or you're like your Zach Stevens over at DNVR, and you ask him a very innocuous question, like, how's the flight to London? And Patrick Surtain tells you that Russell Wilson was doing high knees in the aisle of the plane. Yeah. And suddenly that gets onto Good Morning Football and USA Today and Good Morning America and Real Time with Bill Maher and every other show on earth.
Yeah, I don't know. It's painful that probably one of the most interesting shows right now is the Kelsey Brothers podcast.
Yeah. Well, I think you get these guys on. That's the good part of, like, what you do with Kurt Benkert on GPS, and then even getting like Ben DiNucci on for a stream. When you can get these guys like out of a work environment and in their home and in a one-on-one, little bit of a longer form situation, they're a little more forthcoming. Their personality comes through a little bit more. They're just generally more thoughtful and interesting.
Yeah, it's like when you think about it, the pandemic, I think, really conditioned people to be open to communicating this way. Like,
yeah,
it was heading this direction no matter what. But like once everybody was sort of forced to do that, I feel like it's since then it's just become like normal for a player to jump on any podcast at any time. Like, and even you'll see like a lot of smaller podcasts getting, pretty big name players to hop on their show and just talk for a while. And it's up to like the host to kind of create an environment where maybe they have a good conversation, a natural conversation. And it's just not another thing where it is all of those canned answers with like the same type of canned questions.
Yeah. It's not 5 to 8 people standing around them sticking a microphone in their face too.
Yeah. And even like what I'm enjoying is when players like retire and then you really get to see the fun side of their personality. Like JJ Watt's been on McAfee's show a bunch of times. I was like, oh yeah, JJ Watt has a better sense of humor than I thought. Like he's willing to,
that's a
talk
good
shit and fuck around.
That's a good point.
Like that.
Because like back in 2015, 2016, when Pardon My Take started, JJ Watt was like the butt of all jokes, just in terms of like his manufactured personality.
Yeah.
And the Hard Knocks episode where he was staying on the field late, flipping over tires. And he kind of caught wind of that and was able to make fun of himself. And I think like stuff like that caused the shift, I think, in how players and media operate. And players, I think, as the media landscape's gotten a little more lighthearted in some respects, and a little more player friendly and not so accusatory, it's kind of enabled players to relax and be themselves. And even like you said, the Kelsey brothers kind of put their own mark on the media.
Yeah. You can't replace like a lifetime of brother to brother chemistry. You know what I mean? So like you can sit down and as long as both of those people can be entertaining, like that's a recipe for success right away.
Right.
Another recipe for success, Kareem Jackson.
I thought you were going to say like HelloFresh or something.
Oh, not this
no
episode.
Free ads.
Well, that's enough of us dicking around.
Yeah.
We thought Kareem Jackson might be coming back, and I am happy he is. Another 1-year deal, right?
1-year deal. Yeah. It's been 3 straight 1-year deals, I think.
Yeah. We've thought Kareem Jackson played his last snap as a Bronco multiple years, and is it Caden Stearns coming? Is he have like a hip injury or something he's still recovering from?
Yeah, he looked great in the start of the season, had those 2 picks against Indianapolis, and then went down. Justin Simmons also went down for a large period, not a large period, but a few games last year, still ended up leading the league in interceptions. But yeah, I like the signing too. You get to kind of experiment with his versatility in a new defense. He was not there when Vance Joseph was the head coach. They signed him in 2019, so this is going to be his 5th year in Denver.
Damn.
It's kind of shocking. He's one of the longest tenured players on the team, I think, behind McManus, obviously, and then Cortland Sutton and Josie Jewell. Probably forgetting somebody.
Bowles?
Yeah. Bowles has been here since 2017 as well.
Yeah, that's crazy.
An older guy.
Yeah. I thought once they drafted Skinner that they were probably not going to bring him back. But now that they have experience and depth at the safety position, I think it gives them just a little more flexibility in what they can do with their secondary. I think it's a smart move, and it's an understated sort of move. I think it's just one that pays a lot of dividends on multiple levels, while also saying it's not like Kareem Jackson is your week-to-week like game changer. You know what I mean? He is older. He's always been undersized. He's a playmaker. He makes impactful plays, but he is not Justin Simmons.
No, and no one's. They're not going to ask him to be.
No,
he's going to, play in the box a lot, and he'll probably, jar a ball loose at some point this season. Maybe he'll jump in front of a pass. But yeah, I think it's going to be Simmons and Stearns mostly when healthy. No idea about Skinner yet. Skinner's not really like a huge coverage guy. He's more of he's kind of in the Kareem Jackson mold, except, bigger. I thought it was interesting too, that Skinner wore number 0 at Boise State, and they just allowed NFL players to wear 0. Sean Payton gave him number 46, maybe the worst number. Said, hey buddy, you got to earn that
fullback number. Good God.
Yeah. Spencer Larson number.
Yeah. Damn. Well, poor Skinner.
Skinner.
Okay, so K-Jack's coming back, and then another big headline over the last week was Javonte Williams should be ready to go week 1, or Sean Payton thinks he's going to be ready to go. Bullshit.
I would have to agree with you.
I hope. I think it's one of those things in terms of being a little dry for news, answers being canned. I just think there is absolutely no way to predict the next 2 months of rehab for Javonte Williams.
Totally.
And where his knee will be at come, end of August.
No, I agree with you 100%. I think, like you said, it's so hard to predict what's going to happen in 2 months. I'm sure he's like ahead of schedule and
that's why they're
super committed to his rehab. You also don't know, like, what does ready mean at training camp? Like, ready to work out, ready to, cut on a dime. Like, those aren't.
That's the thing.
Things.
It's all about cutting.
The
knee can look strong and it's straight running. You can lift on it, but you got to, all that rehab, everything can be going great. And then he plays a few snaps in a preseason game, makes a couple cuts on his knee. Next day, it's swollen, like all that shit. You don't know how it's going to react until it's kind of put through the football test, right? And that's my fear, is just like, I don't want people to get excited about having Javonte Williams ready to go week 1, week 2, or whatever. And then there's a setback. There's just too many things that could go wrong. And I'm not even talking about like it being like a serious thing, but just, it's a bad injury. Everything we learned afterwards, it was multiple things that tore. Like, he got compared to Adrian Peterson, but Peterson just had a straight up ACL tear. There wasn't other damage in Peterson's knee, right?
And I couldn't give you the details on that. I know it's bad, but I think too, like, Javonte Williams versus Adrian Peterson. Like, Peterson's a downhill runner who stood up like pretty straight when he ran, and Javonte Williams is so big on like his number one trait really is balance. He has so much balance, so much like side to side mobility, the ability to jump cut, ability to break tackles and the branch tackles.
It's almost like sometimes he runs backwards into a tackle just to prove that he can break it again.
Right. Yeah. And those things, I think you have to rely on, your some strong kneecaps and ligaments to do that. And I don't want to see him out there before he's ready, obviously. they didn't draft a running back, which I think overall like points to good things happening. You probably just go into week 1, I think, still with Samaje Perine. Figure it out. The interesting kind of scenario going on, and I think it's now less likely based on what Sean Payton said, but player to keep an eye on is probably Dalvin Cook from the Vikings. He's, a possible salary cap dump in Minnesota. We know George Payton likes him because he was a part of the front office that drafted him. The question is, like, do you want to invest that much in a running back position that might not be vacant for long? Could be. We don't know. Is it a good idea to have him anyway? Hard to say.
Yeah. I mean, I would like Dalvin Cook on the roster if they get into preseason and think, oh, you know what, it is going to be a little bit longer before Javonte Williams is ready to go. I love Samaje Perine. I'm a fan of Jaques Patrick, who's coming in from the XFL, but like, I think Cook is overall still like a better running back than those two in terms of having the ability to make kind of like a game-changing type play. But it's kind of like a wait and see thing. I don't know when Minnesota would release him. I don't know if you could wait that long to make a decision on him. But if he's on the roster, I'll feel good about it. He's not exactly who he used to be. He's not going to be that like 1,400 or 1,500 yard back. But
no,
I'm not sure any guy can be that with Sean Payton, because I think he's going to use 2 backs very heavily. It'll never be just a one workhorse type system. But last year proved like we need depth there. Latavius Murray was their best running back last year. And now he's going to be a Buffalo Bill. And I think Patrick coming in from the XFL, also interesting. He, like Murray, 6'3", 234 pounds. So they're almost identical in terms of size. He's 7 years younger than Latavius. So Patrick just 26. He was the second leading rusher in the XFL. Also 238 receiving yards on 30 receptions. He had 5 touchdowns. And he did it for the San Antonio Brahmas. If you didn't watch, they did not have a good offense in San Antonio. A lot of injuries really set that team back to their line, their quarterbacks. Their defense was pretty good, but he was probably the most consistent player on a bad offense through the course of a season. So also he's been on the Bengals practice squad. He's been on a handful of practice squads. So he's always been really close to getting a shot. And I think, he might have a chance this year in Denver, and he's definitely got the size to be like an impactful player.
Yeah, I think you compared him to Latavius Murray, which both just like really big running backs. And I think that kind of fits with the philosophy that they have, where they just want to, put 2 tight ends out there and mash the ball into the center of the field.
A bunch of 6 yard runs is like what I feel like this offense wants.
Yeah, big time cloud of dust offense. Another name that is probably not going to get people excited, but I would keep on the periphery is Mark Ingram.
Ooh.
Free agent right now.
Still free agent?
Still a free agent. He is 33 years old, but he's never
Talk
had
about a guy who knows Sean Payton's system.
Yeah, he's never had more than 230 carries in a season. He's never been he's gotten a lot of touches over the course of his career, obviously, because he was drafted in 2011. But no, I mean, I think that makes a little bit of sense as a stopgap, right?
Yeah,
he's gonna have a better situation than he had last year in Houston and New Orleans, where he returned.
Yeah, peak Mark Ingram, really fun running back. 2017 with the Saints, 12 rushing touchdowns, 1,100 yards. 2019 with the Ravens, the big Truz year, 1,000 rushing yards,
Average
10 TDs.
5 yards a carry.
Yeah. He hasn't done that for a while, but you never know.
That was a like running backs paradise in 2019 Baltimore.
Yeah, this will be his 14th year in the league. That's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I think that's kind of like maybe why Denver didn't draft a back right now, because there are a lot of options if something goes wrong, and you kind of feel, solid about the current depth at the position. So, but I'm excited to see
the long view.
Yeah, like in preseason, Patrick's one of the guys I want to see get some carries.
Yeah,
I talked a lot about, what's that?
Yeah, no, sorry, go ahead.
I've talked a lot about Ben DiNucci, and it's a lot of fun because he was fun in the XFL, but we all know it's Russell Wilson's team and it's his job, and if something happens to Russ, it's most likely Jarrett Stidham's gig.
Yeah, it's Jarrett Stidham's got the number 2 spot locked up, but I think the rules allow you to dress 3 quarterbacks now?
Maybe. I can't remember if they secured that.
The Brock Purdy rule.
Yeah. I think having 3 viable quarterbacks is good. And what I like about an XFL quarterback coming in as a backup the season after playing through the XFL is they've just had 10 games of play.
Yeah.
I feel like they're more prepped to enter a game and be successful. And then other than a lot of backups who might only get action in the preseason. So you can have commentary and criticisms of, XFL or any of that, but
dude, the XFL
he played 11 games counting the postseason, and he was consistently the first or second best quarterback every week. So it is a really viable he's a viable player to have if needed.
Right. I think that's what you and I both like about the XFL. I thought the general gameplay and the skill level exceeded my expectations. And just spring football in general, it's so insane that the biggest sports entity in Northern America didn't have any sort of subsidiary or minor league or any feeder system to the NFL. Just if you were, it was totally a have and have not situation. The top players get all the reps, and if you're not one of those guys, if you're kind of on the margins, there's no real way for you to get better except training on your own, really.
Yeah, I guess you kind of had the Canadian Football League as a
option. Yeah. I mean, they only
let a feeder system.
No, because they only let a certain amount of American players on their teams.
Right. Speaking of, Shane Ray signing with the Buffalo Bills, coming out of the Canadian Football League.
Did he really? Good for him.
Yeah.
Shane Ray and Von Miller back together.
Yes. So that's cool. And that's kind of the other thing about the XFL. It's not just a second opportunity for younger players to kind of get their film out there. It's kind of a place too, I think, aging players go who think they might have something left to play in the NFL or
just want
to play a little bit longer before they're fully done with football.
AJ McCarron being, I think, the best example of that.
Yeah. There's a handful of guys who I think fit that bill. And I think if the spring leagues grow and actually prove to be viable and salaries become a little bit more enticing, an older player, who won't get a shot in the NFL, but it's hey, I gotta I don't know, Frank Gore's you know what? I got one more year running the ball. Let me play and do the thing I love one more year, and I can do it there.
Yeah, and I think the XFL after this year's, I think it's here to stay.
Yeah, I do too.
They just did such a nice job, so much better, I thought, than the USFL in terms of marketing and just the experience and having the games on, ESPN and ABC
and playing in their home cities, like for the
yes,
environment.
Exactly.
So one thing the USFL keeps getting ripped for is like nobody's at the games, but
right.
So you got two teams who don't even play in like that city. Like, of course, people aren't going to show up. You got to build genuine fan bases.
Yeah, and they put, they put a team in St. Louis, and look what happened with the fans. They should have made the playoffs, but the fans were out there. They were loud. DC got to experience what it's like to have a competent football franchise in their city for the first time since 1999, and now hopefully they have it again, minus Dan Snyder. I almost said minus D Snyder.
D Snyder.
Washington Commanders owner D Snyder.
Is that D Snyder? I can't remember.
I think so. Yeah.
All those fucking bands are the same to me.
No,
it's all one song.
Yeah. Wait. No, Quiet Riot. Come on, Feel the Noise. Is he part of Quiet Riot?
She's my cherry pie.
That's Warrant.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm saying it's all the same to me.
It is. It's all just hair metal.
All right, I'm done talking. What about you, Will?
Yeah, I think we've been done talking for 36 minutes.
Yeah, I want this to be known as the most abruptly ending sports podcast there is.